Greetings and salutations. I'm the fallen angel Christopher Daniels.
Hello, yes, Danhausen here, to tell you, deliver a very nice, very evil message, if you will.
This is NXT superstar Dexter Lumis.
What's up, everybody? It's me, your buddy, your pal, Scott Stanford.
Hey, this is Big Sexy Kevin Nash.
This is the former intellectual savior of the masses, now known as Aaron Stevens, your NWA third-degree national champion.
This is Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, the role model, and you are listening to Greg Morgan with Good Mic Work Commentaries.
And I want to tell you, Greg, your buddy Howie, also known as Wheezy, as you call him, he told me all about your channel. I'm here to tell everybody that I've seen it, I've watched it, I've looked at it. I went down the rabbit hole and I couldn't get out of it. It was so good.
Yeah, you better watch this channel. You better watch all the videos.
I'm about to go and watch a few videos myself.
Watch them 5 times a piece. That's right, I said 5 times a piece. Do it. I know you've been a fan for like 40 years. I've only been doing it for 30, so I guess we're fans together there for 10 of it. Do it.
He's not going to fill your head with bullshit. He's going to tell you real deal, what's up, and that's that.
Do it!
Good Mic Work is the place to be for all your wrestling information, guaranteed.
The best wrestling content is right here at Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries on YouTube.
Subscribe, share, love, like, poke, whatever you need to do.
If you don't, we're gonna have a problem.
Love that, Danhausen, love that Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Do it now.
You're welcome.
Happy Saturday again, everyone. What's going on? And welcome to your January 16th edition of the Winged Eagle Podcast. Hope you guys are having a great week and a weekend. We should have a fun episode today, but I do want to come off right off the bat and apologize for overlapping just a bit with Impact's Hard to Kill pay-per-view that begins, I believe, in just about an hour. So for those of you that had plans to watch that, sorry, Impact. I guess your pay-per-view is just going to get a little bit lower of a buy right now because people are watching me instead. I'm just kidding. I know that is coming up, so those of you who are interested in it, sorry that this is overlapping a bit, but that's my style on Saturdays. I always come up here very late in the afternoon, so I do apologize for that, but I still think we're going to be able to salvage this episode and make it a pretty good one, despite it being a very light news week. And the television shows this week in terms of wrestling results and angles and storylines that we're going to get into, some pretty interesting stuff went down last night on Smackdown, but in terms of Wednesday night, both shows, AEW and NXT, were very good, but overall mediocre, and the ratings reflected that. And so in terms of their results, a couple of interesting things happened, but nothing earth-shattering. And then, of course, this past Monday night, we were up here for a review on that. Interesting match scheduled for this Monday, which we'll talk about. And other than that, it's going to be mostly, talking about SmackDown last night and what we're looking at going into the Royal Rumble and, of course, into WrestleMania season. In addition to that, I've got a little bit of wrestling news to get into as well, but again, not much. These are things that I'm almost forcing myself to talk about just because it was very light, but we'll get into a little bit of the Sammy Guevara and T-Bar beef. We want to wish a speedy recovery to Bill Eadie, and we're going to talk a little bit about Ricochet and his contract. AEW has scrapped some plans to move their show to Miami, and WWE is rumored to really be tinkering with WrestleMania a lot now, and pretty much it being in Tampa and remaining there is a done deal. Looks like they're also going to push the date back for that as well, which begs the question, what are their plans? What do they have in mind? Will fans be a part of these plans? Can they do it? Can they not? And, what do we think is how do we think WrestleMania season is going to shake out? Should be for some just fun, chill speculation here today in terms of that. And we've got some information on the next season of Dark Side of the Ring on the Vice channel as well. So we got a fair amount to get into in terms of news. We're also going to be talking about maybe some gossip. I'll answer some questions in the chat. And this podcast will probably be more of a hangout than an actual podcast because, like I said, it's not like we have anything that's really shaken the wrestling world to its foundation going on here in terms of news or results at the moment. But Royal Rumble coming up on the horizon has presented some interesting options and some possibilities, and that's what we're going to open up here after the news. We'll get into Smackdown first last night because a big switch was made in that Adam Pearce and Roman Reigns match, which we all expected, and I'll talk about that. But we'll also talk about the implications of that and what it could mean for that match. Who's going to win the Rumble now? What's Roman's trajectory going into WrestleMania? Same goes for Kevin Owens, since it feels like his stock is really rising. Now with the last man standing match stipulation, Owens has a chance to pull another Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13 performance off here with what he's set up to do. I don't think he's going to win the title, but holy shit, maybe he will. So that should be fun to talk about that, and we'll make it a pretty cool, chilled out night here on the channel. We're going to have a big weekend too. This is day 1 of 3 consecutive live streams in a row. Tomorrow night, I want you guys to join me at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, basically the same time you would catch me after Raw on Mondays. Hang out with me, and we're going to sit back and watch together, do a watch-along of Royal Rumble 2005, the Royal Rumble 2005 match, I should say. Just the match, not the whole pay-per-view. I wanted to do a couple of Royal Rumble-related videos this month, and I've already done a review on the 95 Royal Rumble. I'm going to try to squeeze out another one, but I have 2 watch-alongs planned. So tomorrow, we're going to watch the Royal Rumble 2005 match, the infamous botch with Cena and Batista going over the top rope, Vince blowing a gasket and blowing out both his quads in the process, and the entire shitstorm mess that Royal Rumble match was, and my memories of it, watching it that night. And I remember going through the process in my head that was the night WWE died. I was like, I can't believe this fucking catastrophe they suffered. And, little did we know that Cena and Batista would go on to be, pretty big Hall of Famers and the biggest stars of, of the past decade or so. But back then I was really worried for WWE's future, how terrible that whole thing went. So I thought it would be fun to take a look back at that tomorrow. 1 week from tomorrow, I'm going to do another watch along, and that's going to be an entire Royal Rumble pay-per-view. We're going to watch Royal Rumble 2002, the entire thing from start to finish on the WWE Network. So if you want to follow along the next 2 Sunday nights, should be fun. Crack open a cold one. We'll watch some great Royal Rumble matches and pay-per-views together. I'll have a little timer on the screen so you can follow along. All you need to do is make sure you have a WWE Network subscription, and you can participate. So keep that in mind for tomorrow and the following Sunday. And then, of course, Monday, I'll be up here for the Monday Night Raw review. So 2 weeks in a row here, you're going to get me 3 nights, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So keep that in mind. Mark your calendar, all that good stuff. Before I go into the Patreon shoutouts, I want to wish an awesome happy 41st birthday to our friend George Morris, who chimed in with a $5 super chat. Hope you are having a great one. It sounds like you are. Smoked ribs in the company of your 3 cats. That sounds excellent. You are just a couple of years younger than me, and I would enjoy spending my birthday the same exact way with some ribs and my 2 cats. So have a great day, George. I hope it's been one so far, and I hope you continue to have one. No 0 out of 10s for you today. That's good. But I'm sure we'll catch you Monday night for your classic rating. And it's good to see you in here, man, and thank you for chiming in. Good to see everybody else in here as well. Life of Brandon and Nate and Ben and Chad and Stone Cold, Michael Cuomo and Steven, Madeline Feebush, good to see you as well. Chatty, Ungovernable, Jet the Hawk, Neil, Shanus. Who else we got in here? Dre, Big J, Dre L. Deshaun Robinson's here is too. Red Raven, Rucker, Josh. All right, nice. Cool little audience in here. We'll see how this grows throughout the afternoon here, as I've been harping on like a completely psychotic, obsessed schoolgirl since the beginning of 2021. Please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. I really want to get those likes up. Would love to get 200 likes on this video. Maybe I can start doing some stuff. Hey, give me 500 likes and I'll eat a box of WWE cereal from the 80s or something like that. Try to bribe you guys into giving me the likes. But if you can hook me up with one, I'd appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe too if for some reason you haven't done that yet. Do that. I'd appreciate it. Let me shout out to all of our latest patrons real quick, and we'll get into that, and then we'll just start jumping into the wrestling news. But as always, I want to shout out everybody that supports the channel on the Patreon page. The link is in the description below if you'd like to go over there and show this channel some love and support and keep the ball rolling, because it is not free to do this, and we have had a lot of people over the years that have been very supportive and very generous with their lifetime support. It's been pretty awesome. I also want to shout out a couple of new ones. Chris Miner and Super Fluffy Toaster. Welcome to the Patreon family. Appreciate you guys coming in this week. I also want to thank Deshaun Robinson, J Smooth 1999, J Smooth 1999, Martin Can, Alex Dredge, Apron Bump Podcast, Alan Carter, Brandon Yelverton, Michael Tong, Nick Musser, Jimmy Anderson, K-Dog's Kennel, Ryan Y, Devlin Husband, he'll probably be here later, Antoine Daniels. He was responsible for the review that I did this past Thursday, SmackDown, September 18th, 2003, Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle Iron Man match. He sponsored to have that live review done. I did it a couple of days ago. It's on my channel right now, so check it out. Also, shout out and thank you to John Redifer, Claudio Clavedetcher, Daniel Rodriguez, Reese Jones, Barry MK, who will probably also be here, Josiah Blevins, Mr. Steve, Scott Moss, John Riffle, Michael Kuma, who is here, Naveed, Keith Salyers, Nathan Walker, and Blake Moran. Thanks as always, guys. Appreciate your Patreon support. Y'all is the best. All right, let's jump into some news here so we cannot waste too much time this afternoon because I know people have things to do, pay-per-views to watch. It's Saturday. It's the weekend. Wherever you are in the world, I hope your weather is good. For some reason here in San Diego, it's like 90 fucking degrees. It's absolutely perfect outside. Maybe not 90, but it's extremely warm. Windows wide open, breeze blowing through the house. It's awesome. And I heard there's like another polar vortex coming, so my sympathies to those of you in the polar vortex path. But like I said, the wrestling news is pretty light this week. I do want to start with the WrestleMania news because I found that to be the most interesting. Fightful Select reported this yesterday, and that was in terms of WrestleMania and the internal belief of WrestleMania not only being moved locations, but also potentially the date being moved. And there's a rumor now that WWE does plan to push back the date of WrestleMania 2 weeks from March 27th to April 11th, I believe. I think that was the original date, 26th or 27th of March. Anyway, the new date, proposed date, I guess is going to be April 11th. Why they're doing this, I don't know. It's just a couple of weeks. In terms of COVID, I don't know how much of a difference 2 weeks could really make, but maybe in WWE's mind, they're figuring the later on in the year, the better. I mean, the farther, they go to allow vaccines to be distributed and restrictions to be eased or whatever. I'm guessing that's the reason here, but also that they need to secure a venue for that because obviously it's not going to be here in LA like it was planned. So it's going to have to be moved, and it can't be in Tropicana Field either because by then it's going to be baseball season. The Tampa Bay Rays play there. So they're going to have to find not only a date, but also a venue for this. They, Fightful Select reported that the event calendar for Raymond James Stadium in Tampa is empty for April 11th. So that could be a good indicator that WWE is going to try to put WrestleMania back there. But again, if they do that, now you're outdoors. Now you're in the same stadium you were supposed to be in last year. But even in an outdoor stadium, what are they going to do in terms of fans? We've talked about this a lot in the past couple of podcasts, but now it seems like things are starting to come together and we'll probably start getting some announcements or at least hearing some news about what WWE plans to do here in the next, I guess, few weeks, at least I hope. As a fan, from a fan's perspective, I would really like to know. I know it's impossible for WWE to really be able to predict the future, and and everything is so fluid with COVID because we've never dealt with this before, and things are just constantly changing. So it's not really their fault, but I would really like to be informed. I would really like to know what to expect in the next couple of months in terms of WrestleMania. Now, if it does turn out to be in Tampa, I'm perfectly fine with that. It's a shame it wasn't going to be here in LA. I wish there was no COVID. I'd be really getting jacked around right now for WrestleMania time because I'd probably have some shit planned for up there and probably tickets bought and hotels booked and all that stuff. But, unfortunately, that ain't happening. And based on, how Tampa lost out on WrestleMania last year, even though it's not the same, you don't have thousands and thousands of fans flying in from all corners of the globe to come to Tampa to enjoy this, but it might be a start in giving Tampa the WrestleMania that they missed last year, maybe with a select few fans, a limited amount of fans. We've seen fans at NFL games, and we've seen fans in AEW, and if you do a distancing type of thing, maybe it's possible to have some people there. You could even do a combination of virtual fans and live fans, but you got to remember, all this shit is outdoors, so I don't know how you put Thunderdome in the seats of a stadium and then it rains. Does that shit explode? I don't know how that works from a technical standpoint, so I don't even know how it could be done, how you logistically, how you would plan something like that and how you would draw up plans for something like that. If anybody can do it, WWE can, but the fact that they are now going to be moving this date to April 11th, and it's likely going to be in Tampa, because here's the thing, if it's not at Raymond James, where the fuck is it going to be? I mean, obviously they could find something, there are other places in Florida, but in terms of, a venue like that, in a city like that, they could even do something where they just, they almost condense it, maybe not even use the seats, the big stadium seats in Raymond James. Maybe they confine it all just to the football field portion in the middle and they build a Thunderdome around it, big canopy, big tarp or something like that, and they can still have a longer than normal entrance, but maybe just not as long as the mile-long entrance we saw at WrestleMania 33 and shit. So, they could maybe potentially do something there. I don't know. The one good news about this, that this news indicates to me, is that WWE is planning, because last year they got caught off guard. They had no time. They had 10 days to less than 2 weeks, I think, to move WrestleMania into the PC. They had no time to build a Thunderdome. They had no time to do anything creative. They had no time to do anything like that. So now they've had time. Now we've seen what they've done with the Thunderdome, how they built that and put that together last summer and how that came together. So hopefully in their mind, they're being realistic with themselves and realizing we're nowhere near out of the woods with this COVID shit yet. We need to get some sort of concrete plans in place for WrestleMania and what we're going to do. So I think regardless of what the final decision here is and what gets announced, I think they're going to have their shit together more this time than they did last time, and they're going to do their best to provide us with the best possible WrestleMania experience legally possible, with the current restrictions and things like that. So I think WrestleMania, just the look of it this year is going to be interesting. I think these 2 years, I really, truly, honestly believe by the time we get to WrestleMania 38, we should have life mostly back to normal in terms of concerts and things. Hopefully, who knows? But I would think by the time we get to 38, that should be possible. So we're always going to look back at these two WrestleManias, 36 and 37, 2020 and 2021, as being a real strange time in wrestling. So it'll be interesting to see what they give us. As I've been saying, and I've been harping on too for the past couple of podcasts, we do know that the Royal Rumble will be at Tropicana Field. That date was moved too. I think that was bumped up a week from its original date. So they've gotten that now on the 31st. And with it being at Tropicana Field and Tropicana Field being a baseball stadium, and the last couple of Rumbles have been at baseball stadiums, I think it would be awesome if they can reconfigure the Thunderdome to have the entrance in the dugout. That would give us a different looking vibe or feel, than every single, the Thunderdome makes a huge difference. Don't get me wrong, but no matter what you're watching, pay-per-view, Raw, SmackDown, it's all the same. So if they can give us something a little bit different for the Royal Rumble, I would be very appreciative, so to speak, as a fan. But what do you guys think about that? Would you rather just skip this year one more time and just do, maybe a Thunderdome WrestleMania, maybe another location, no fans at all, continue the virtual stuff? You're maybe just going to have to move venues from Tropicana to somewhere else and do a WrestleMania like that, and then just try to have it back to normal by next year? Or would you like to see WWE try to get funny, and try to get cute and try to make a combination virtual, real fan experience or something like that? I don't know how they're going to do that. I hate to be the person in charge of that, but, I guess we just wanted to talk about this because of how bummed out it makes me that, we're going to lose two WrestleManias in a row. Really the only parts of WWE that we find unanimously enjoyable every year, even shitty WrestleManias, are kind of good. You know what I mean? It's like pizza and sex. So usually every year, at least during this time, WWE can be somewhat enjoyable. And for us to have lost that, potentially 2 years in a row is a shame. Makes WWE even harder to watch. It might be another reason why the ratings suck so bad. But anyway, all signs now, even though nothing is official, nothing has been announced, and no word out of WWE officially about this, all signs are pointing to them moving WrestleMania to April 11th and WrestleMania being in Tampa at Raymond James. It's just a matter of how they put that together, if fans are there, how many they're going to be, and all that jazz. So we shall see. I think they could pack it out. People in Florida don't give a shit. Obviously, a lot of people can't be flying in from too far away to come to this thing if there are fans allowed there. But I think there's enough dumb people in Florida to fill out a pretty good crowd there in Raymond James Stadium. So we'll see how that goes. But hopefully, like I said, we just get some information on that sooner rather than later, because I don't want to wait forever. I'm going to knock out these super chats in just a minute. Just want to talk about a couple of other tidbits of news here. I mentioned Stone Cold Steve Austin a little while ago. The Vice channel has confirmed, and so did Steve Austin himself, that he has filmed some segments to be a part of the Brian Pillman episode. We knew that was going to be a part of season 3. A whole episode dedicated to Brian Pillman, which is a no-brainer. They should have done that one in season 1. I'm very, very much looking forward to that one. The Brian Pillman death is something that is very vivid to me. I remember everything about that and how devastated it was. And as a wrestling fan, as a Bret Hart fan and fan of the Hart family, what a horrible 3 or 4 months that was for me. It started with Utopia at SummerSlam 1997 with Bret Hart winning his 5th WWE title. I was stoked. A month after that, Vince asked Bret to get out of his contract, or that he wants out of the contract and tells him to go to WCW. Just a couple of weeks after that, Brian Pillman dies. Just a few weeks after that, you got the screw job. I mean, it was just a disaster. Like, everything was imploding, and the Brian Pillman death being right in the middle of that was so sad because it just caught you off guard. I mean, up until that point, we had lost Kerry Von Erich and Adrian Adonis and Eddie Gilbert and some other, and Bruiser Brody and a couple of other tragedies. But I've said it for years on this channel that the Brian Pillman death jump-started all the deaths. It felt like it was one every month after that. Owen and Bulldog and Perfect and Hawk and everybody. It was just Elizabeth and just this landslide of people that passed away right after Brian Pillman, and just started happening and happening and happening and happening. But the Pillman one is just one that I remember because it happened on the same day as Bad Blood and the Hell in the Cell match, and my God. So that's going to be an interesting watch. I'm sure Brian Pillman Jr., who's just doing a great job in terms of emulating his father. It's scary how much they look alike. Brian Sr., still very much more athletic, and I think a little bit more of a gifted athlete than his son, but Brian Pillman's improving a lot, and he's really good, and I can't stop staring at him, because when he has that mullet and he's got that vest, and now he's the Varsity Blondes with Griff Garrison. When I look at him, I just see Brian, and it's just like, it's fucking creepy. So I'm sure he'll be a part of that as well, and I'm curious about Melanie, her involvement in this as well. I'm guessing she probably will. She was in the Brian Pillman DVD and had some nice things to say, so hopefully whatever's going on in her life, she's all right. But that should be interesting, and I'm really looking forward to that one, probably more than all of the Season 3 episodes announced so far, the Pillman episode. So Austin's going to be a part of that, and he should be, because they have history. Anyway, I also want to talk about Ricochet. We talked last week about the rumor and some of the news sites reporting that some WWE talent was turning down contract extension offers presented to them by WWE, and one of those talents was Ricochet. This has been now debunked by Ricochet himself, who, and apparently some other people have confirmed this, that his contract, in fact, is not up until 2024. So I think fans were kind of just assuming he might be one of those people based on the fact that WWE continues to do jack shit with him on the roster, and he loses all the time, and he's in the retribution feud, and he's doing the same thing every week, and he's completely just useless. He's a useless piece of talent, and he's probably athletically the most talented person they have in the whole company. Doesn't that sound like WWE? Doesn't that sound like such a WWE thing to do? But in fact, he did just recently sign a 5-year deal when he was moved up to the main roster. So he's got some time left on his deal, and I guess he's not going anywhere. That's a shame. Would love to see someone like him turn up in AEW. I'm really hoping that Aleister Black turns up there and WWE just lets him go, because there's so many great pieces of talent that I think of they can be somewhere else and do so well. But apparently Ricochet is not going to be one of those. Matt Riddle apparently could be, though, and possibly he could be on his way out whenever his deal expires, because they haven't done a whole lot with Matt Riddle either, other than showing replays of his flip-flop flips when he gets in the ring. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. When WWE finds something that's cool, they ruin it. Anyway, so Ricochet is not one of those talents that are leaving, but I hope that this year, I hope by the end of 2021, we have at least 2 semi-known names in WWE leave, whether it's Sami Zayn or Matt Riddle or Ricochet or somebody like that. Just somebody like that, Aleister Black, that WWE's not doing anything with, leaves and goes to AEW and, can potentially just do more, spread their wings a little bit, and actually have matches on TV. That'd be nice, right? Did you guys catch the little online spat between Sammy Guevara and T-Bar this week? That was pretty funny. Like I said, it's a light news week, so I actually took the time to write this shit down. I laughed at it. So T-Bar starts all this with a tweet talking about Sammy Guevara, and he says because they both use the same type of finisher, that GTS thing or whatever it is, GTS-ish type of finisher, and they both use it. So T-Bar just for some reason tweets out, quote, some little teenage virgin. T-Bar, let me explain something to you. I know Sammy might be little and small and tiny compared to you. I've met Sammy Guevara. I'm here to tell you, he's no virgin. Anyway, he says, some little teenage virgin on AEW stole my finisher like 4 years ago after we did a show together. He's also said, I'd steal something from his moveset, but it's all just King Ricochet's moves. So he basically just calls out Sammy Guevara out of nowhere for stealing his finisher, which is weird. Sammy Guevara probably gets more action than T-Bar, if I had to guess. So I'm not sure how accurate his virgin comments are, but just basically calls him out. I thought that was funny. I love this type of stuff. Well, not to remain silent, Sammy Guevara chimes back in a little while later, says, someone, quote, I quote, someone tell Teabag the move actually belongs to Matt DeMorris, the guy he stole it from. And I'm just trying to get the move to be seen since you know he's never on TV. Also, while you are sitting down doing nothing and catering on Monday, check out my newest blog, or vlog, I should say. So that was a kind of fun little exchange there. I don't know what this stems from. I wasn't aware of any heat between these two guys. I'm sure they have crossed paths on the indie circuit a couple of times. Apparently there's some bad blood there. But T-Bar, come on, Dominic. You are a giant. I mean, if that was a real fight that was going to happen, you would murder that kid. Why don't you pick on somebody your own size? That's what I have to say to that. But Sammy Guevara is cool. He's not going to just sit back and not let that go unanswered. So, excuse me. So I kind of liked his little comeback there. That was fun just to watch. Little Twitter beefs. Those are always great, aren't they? I think that's it. Oh, yeah, and I want to do a well wish. We did read online this week that Bill Eadie, formerly Acts of Demolition, has been battling COVID. So we want to wish him the best. Demolition, of course, is my second favorite WWE tag team of all time, just right behind the Hart Foundation. And I think Bill Eadie will be fine. You want to know why? Because he's a machine. Get it? All right. That's it for the news. Let me go over here, cruise over here, answer some super chats. Then we're going to get into last night's Smackdown. I want to talk a little bit about the Roman Reigns and the Kevin Owens and Adam Pearce situation. Well, and then after that, we'll talk a little bit about the Wednesday night results, answer some questions, hang out, shoot the shit, drink some water, that sort of thing. All right, let me see. Who did I leave off with in the chat there? George, I got you, birthday man. Deshaun Robinson, what's up, man? Good to see you as well. Appreciate the $2. Michelle McCool revealed that she has COVID. All right, well, get well soon, Michelle. She'll be all right. Get well soon. I'm sure she doesn't like wearing her mask, but she'll be all right. She's healthy. She's in good shape. She's the wife of the dead man. She can't die. She'll be all right. Get well soon, Michelle McCool. We're pulling for you. Michael Cuomo, thanks for the $5 as well. April 11th would break the record for the latest date for WrestleMania. WrestleMania 2 currently has the record for the latest date. Wow. Thank you for that stat. I did not know that. April 11th actually is my 11-year anniversary on YouTube. So if WrestleMania does fall on that day, that'll be my anniversary. That should be fun. I know WrestleMania... I don't remember WrestleMania dates. I only remember WrestleMania 6 because it was on April 1st. And I think there's been more than one WrestleMania on April 1st. But yeah, I can't think of two. There might have been an April 3rd once or twice. But yeah, I was not aware of that. April 11th would break the record. But that's COVID doing that. So I would almost want to say that WrestleMania 2 still kind of has the record. I don't think WWE would deliberately put it that late. I think they're just doing it because of COVID. But yeah, that's interesting. The latest WrestleMania has ever been. Oh, shit. I hate it when my chat does that. It kind of reset on me. There we go. I got you, Chris. What's up, dude? Appreciate the $5. Do you think by SummerSlam they could have a show with fans at half capacity? I don't. That's the thing. It's so impossible to judge all of this. It just depends. Just depends on how the numbers are rising, the cases going up, how the vaccine is being distributed, how many people are getting it, and how it's working, and all of that. We just don't have any experience with this. I think we're going to learn a lot from this COVID, and by the time this runs its course and we get on to the next virus, we're going to learn from all the mistakes we made this time. And that's kind of what's good. At least this is a virus that's not killing you in 5 seconds, because we're going to need to be prepared for that one when it gets here, because it will. There will be, like George Carlin said, there will be a super virus that comes along that turns your vital organs into liquid shit. And that's exactly what's going to happen at some point. So at least we can practice on maybe a less deadly disease, even though it's killing a lot of people. It's not something that if you just touch someone else, you drop dead 5 seconds later. So when that one comes along, all the mistakes that were made with this pandemic, response and, restrictions and, and how we handled it just in general, I think we'll learn from that, and hopefully it'll be a good, 20, 50 years, maybe even 100 before something serious happens, but at least we'll have experience with it. All I can say is I'm hoping and my fingers are crossed. Excuse me. Let me see. Who did I miss next? Oh, Chris, you got another one in here for $5. Appreciate that. If Pillman never left WCW in 1996, do you think Benoit feuds with Sullivan and gets together with Woman because he took Pillman's place in that feud? Never thought about that. I don't know I don't know when Benoit and Woman got together. I don't know if it was really like Stephanie and Triple H. Like Stephanie and Triple H kind of grew closer because of their on-screen program. I know that Benoit, when Benoit was with Woman, that could have been a relationship that was developed behind the scenes with or without the program. So I don't know. I'm curious to give that some thought. I don't recall. I know we've heard stories about how they got together, and we know that she left Sullivan for him, and we know it made for a very strange time when they were feuding and stuff. I just don't recall when they split and got together. If it was during the program or right before it, and then they had to work together or whatever. So I don't know. But yeah, when Pillman left, he kind of left in a strange way too. He was doing shit all the way up on Nitro until his last week, and he was just really coming off as a loose cannon. He was running around in the audience. I'll never forget that one week where Arn Anderson just slapped the shit out of him in like a Four Horsemen promo, and he was kind of all over the place. So yeah, I don't know how that situation would have played out had Pillman stuck around, but I'm glad he left. He was fun in ECW, although he was injured. It was cool to see him there. Just wish he had more of a run in WWE, and I wish he never got hurt, because I think he could have been, he would have fit into that Attitude Era like a fucking glove, man. That car accident just destroyed everything. Nikita, thank you, man, for the $5 as well. Good to see you in here. Hope to see Daniel Bryan in more important storylines. Last one I remember was Earth Champion. That ended way too soon. I miss the eco-friendly title. I do. Daniel Bryan has been cracking me up. We're going to talk about him in a minute. He had a great match last night on Smackdown with Cesaro, and I've been enjoying the little vignettes he's been doing with Otis and Chad Gable backstage. That's pretty funny. I kind of like, they're like three nerds, and they're hilarious. I like them together, and it's fun. It's interesting, and we'll be talking about it soon. But Daniel Bryan, it feels like he's got a little bit more of a role on SmackDown, and with the Royal Rumble coming up and stuff, who knows, man? I'd love to see Daniel Bryan one more last hurrah, with the title, or maybe a Royal Rumble victory. I think a Daniel Bryan Royal Rumble victory is something that WWE owes us, don't they? I mean, after 2014 and 2015, 2014 made me hate a great man. I love Batista, and I booed his balls off when he won that in 2014. And then 2015, it was the same thing. Roman Reigns booed right out of the building. Not even The Rock could save his ass. We wanted Daniel Bryan both of those years. So maybe it's WWE's way of saying, all right, here, we're sorry. Is 8 years too late okay? Or, 6 years too late okay? I would like to see that, but then again, who knows? It's good to see Shinsuke Nakamura, babyface, back to being a competitive singles star, and the music is back and all that stuff. So we're going to be getting into that in just a second. Let me knock out these last couple super chats, and then we're on to SmackDown. Spaz Phoenix, what's going on, man? Go sub to Spaz Phoenix's YouTube channel. I vote Blister. Abigail wins the Raw Women's title. Cheers, Greg. Hope you're well. Big love to the chat. Is Monday's match a title match? I could see her winning the Raw Women's title as well. I'd love that. I'd love that much more than Charlotte beating Asuka for it, which I think is what's going to wind up happening. Or is tomorrow the setup for the Royal Rumble match? I got to look at. I have Asuka versus Alexa written down for Monday, but I don't know if it's a title match again or not. So if it's not, maybe something happens Monday that sets up the title match at the Royal Rumble, rematch between the two, and Alexa wins. Yeah, Alexa wins the women's title at the Royal Rumble. That could be awesome. We'll see. Yeah, but anyway, we get our first look at that on Monday, and Alexa Bliss versus Asuka. Those are two extremely eccentric people. Call your mushroom guy. And thanks for 2 more, Spaz. Appreciate that. Also, Shotzi and Ember got a win in the Women's Dusty. They're running that on a couple of different shows. I knew that they were teaming up. They're in my notes here from NXT, that they did the promo, and Shotzi introduced Ember as her partner for the Dusty Classic, or the Sapphire Classic, as I like to call it. But I wasn't aware they already had a match and won. Good for them. It's a good-looking team, Shotzi and Ember. Thank you for that, Ryan. It's non-title. So, yeah, maybe this sets up. They'll do something crazy here, and then they'll do a rematch at the Royal Rumble, Asuka versus Alexa Bliss, and Alexa beats her for the title. Yeah, I'd be into it. Alexa Bliss is one of my favorite females to watch right now on TV. She's doing great in this role. I think it's awesome, and why the hell not? I mean, it would make Asuka has no challengers whatsoever on Raw, and Charlotte, being around WrestleMania time, we've speculated here that I've thought that, okay, they'll probably do Charlotte and Asuka and Charlotte beats her and wins the title and goes into WrestleMania as champion, you potentially give Rhea Ripley a Royal Rumble victory, or better yet, an Elimination Chamber victory, and then she goes in, challenges Charlotte, and gets her win back from last year, and this time winning the title in the process, and now being the Queen of Raw. That would be awesome. But if you add Alexa Bliss into this, make it a little detour before you get there, or make it less predictable. But whatever they do at WrestleMania, there is absolutely zero way whatsoever. Whoa. There's absolutely zero way whatsoever that Charlotte will not be in a title match. So you have to factor her in there somehow for WrestleMania, and I like the Rhea Ripley idea. But the Alexa Bliss stuff is intriguing, and if she does enter into some sort of a program for the Royal Rumble with Asuka, I predict she'll win the belt. I do. And we'll have to see as well what's going to be going down with Randy Orton and The Fiend, and when we finally see him again, if we do, at all prior to the Royal Rumble. So that should be pretty interesting. But speaking of the Royal Rumble, I want to talk about last night's SmackDown first in terms of the results, because we did finally get that big change to the main event, which it was funny. I was watching SmackDown live last night, and live tweeting, because I'm not currently working right now. We're currently shut down with the lockdown. It sucks. So I have plenty of time for YouTube and plenty of time to hang out with you guys. So I was watching it last night and live tweeting, and I was cracking up because you guys that have been with us for the past couple of weeks, and we've been talking about this whole situation. Have we ever expected the Royal Rumble to be anything else other than Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens? It seems completely obvious the way they've been building up and the matches they've had, and there seems to be no conclusion. And then a couple of weeks ago, when Roman and Jay annihilate Kevin Owens in the Thunderdome and put him through the table and stuff, I'm like, how is he? And then they book the match with Adam Pearce and they do that whole thing. I'm like, who's thinking this thing is going to be Adam Pearce? And it was funny when everything finally happened last night and they did the main event segment. I saw so many people on Twitter being like, what a swerve, I told you so. And some people were like, I told you so, and other people were like, oh, what a swerve. I'm like, how did you not? This is so blatantly obvious. As a matter of fact, as good as everything was last night on SmackDown, I kind of wish they would have held it off just a little bit longer and made you actually think, maybe go one more week with actually thinking we're going to get Adam Pearce versus Roman Reigns. The way they pulled it off here was all pretty good, but it wasn't that. To me, it was relatively predictable. I didn't know how exactly Owens was going to get into the match, but you knew he would, and you knew it was going to have something to do with the contract. So that's kind of what they did here. The show opens up with Roman and Paul Heyman kind of looking over the contract, and I think Heyman can almost like sense that Roman doesn't like it or something, and he's like, I think it needs a stipulation, and he goes to find Adam Pearce. Heyman brings the contract to Pearce and adds a no disqualification stipulation to it, and Pearce is basically he's kind of like in no mood for it. He's like, save the speech, Paul. I'm not fucking stupid. I know you're just doing this to put me in this situation that I'm going to get hurt. You know what? Just give it to me. I'll fucking sign it here. Get out of here, basically. And I liked that. I like seeing Pearce say, save it, you blowhard. I don't need to hear your 2-minute fucking promo about this match again. Here's your paper. Get your walrus ass out of here. I like that. And I hope that at some point during this whole thing, Scrappy gets himself a shot on Roman. I mean, he's still a former wrestler. He's still not completely weak and completely helpless, and he can defend himself. And I would love to see that. Even though he's not going to be in the match, I would love to see him maybe come out and interfere. Maybe there's a chance Roman does drop this belt, in a last man standing with a little bit of help from Adam Pearce. You never know. But we'll talk more about that here later. So Heyman then brings that contract back to Roman Reigns, who's sitting backstage with Apollo Crews. That was cool. Now, we saw Apollo and Paul Heyman, I think, the previous week on Talking Smack, right? And Heyman was kind of giving him that, that pep talk, that come to Jesus meeting, sort of, that he's been doing with a couple of guys lately, trying to light a fire under Apollo's ass. Now Apollo is hanging out with Roman Reigns, even feels like he's out of place, says he's going to leave. Roman's like, nah, hang out here. Maybe you'll learn something, type of thing. So Heyman, I think he shows Roman the contract or something, and then Roman's like, nah, this isn't good enough for me. Make it a last man standing match. And I guess he says that he wants it signed in the ring. He goes, and tell Adam Pearce that we're going to sign it in the ring. And as soon as Roman Reigns said that, I'm like, okay, they're going to stretch this out to an in-ring segment now, which means something stunning is going to happen. No pun intended. So to me, the writing was all over the fucking wall. The writing was sprayed on the wall by this point as soon as he said that. But it did make me excited because this is the match I want to see. I want to see Owens and Roman. So Heyman finds Pearce again with a contract amendment. He goes, oh, it's been amended or whatever, but Roman wants to sign it in the ring or whatever, and Pearce is like, whatever. So we fast forward now to the main event. We have the contract signing there, complete with table and all. And I just love the little touch of Roman not sitting face to face. He has to sit at the head of the table. And I think that's a great trademark that he should do, even when he goes back to being a babyface. Because at some point, Roman will be a babyface again. I want him to still do it. I want him to be a babyface with an edge. Because think about some babyfaces, they wouldn't change that about themselves. They wouldn't just turn right into being a goody two-shoes. Like if Edge did that as a heel, I could see Edge doing the same thing as a babyface, because he still, he still has some of the same personality traits and stuff, babyface or heel, regardless. So whenever Roman's heel run is over and he turns into a face, I want him to always sit at the head of the table for contract signings, no matter who he's facing, whether or not he's a heel or babyface. I just love that little touch. It cracks me up. So Pierce, winds up signing it. He's really uncomfortable because Jey Uso's there as well, I believe, and he's pacing all around like a fucking nut, of course, and he's just a little bit uncomfortable. So he signs it, gets the hell out of there as quickly as he can, signs a contract or whatever, and he goes and he says something like, "I've been waiting a long time for this," and hops out of the ring, and he starts walking up the ramp. When he gets to the top of the ramp, his knee buckles on him. He kind of goes down, and his leg gives out, and that's when he turns around and he says, "Oh, by the way, as you know, the card is subject to change," and every single WWE match contract has the stipulation in there that replacement can be made if somebody is not medically cleared. And I've already found my replacement, and Kevin Owens music hits, and he comes out. Very cool, very awesome that it is in fact going to be Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns, and now you've got the last man standing stipulation attached to it. That's going to be a great match. But again, I kind of wish they did it. I just wish they went maybe one more week with it, or did something to where Roman was like really outsmarted. Because another thing that is hard for me to suspend my disbelief on here is that you're talking about Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman. These guys have had a lot of success, and Roman's latest success has been because of his ruthless nature, and they are usually on top of stuff like this. Paul Heyman is an advocate. He's a manager. He's the guy that handles contracts and reads them over and approves them and shit like that based on what they do. I'm talking about like from their characters. Or from a character perspective, can they think in their heads that after what they did to Kevin Owens, that they better watch out here, that Adam Pearce might try to pull a fast one? It's like they laid it all out for him and just allowed him to do this to them. I would have almost liked it better if Adam Pearce did things in a little bit more of a manipulative or conniving type of way. Like he planned a little bit harder and he really swerved them to where they didn't see it coming, because the way he was, the way they moved the segment to the ring and they stretched it out and, with the contract amended, and then finally we're going to do it in the ring. You knew either Owens is going to run out there and stun everybody and then sign the contract in Adam Pearce's place, or there was going to be a provision in there that Paul Heyman didn't see, or something like that. But in the end, it was just like, oh, by the way, you can, if you're hurt, you can't wrestle, and here's my replacement. Well, if it was that easy, I don't know why it was so dramatic for Adam Pearce these past week or so. It's kind of like the Royal Rumble '99 reminded me of that too, when they did the swerve where Vince won it. And I was like, oh shit, Vince just won the Royal Rumble. He now technically goes into WrestleMania to face the champion. I was there for that WrestleMania 15, by the way. And so I was curious how that was going to happen. The next night on Raw, they just pushed it off. It was like Shawn was there and he's like, oh yeah, because Vince had said in the promo, I forfeit my right to face the champion. I'm not going to face him or whatever. And then Shawn's like, oh yeah, if you do that, that automatically defers the Rumble match to the runner-up, which is Austin. And then they set up the cage match. So it was almost like a wasted Royal Rumble. They gave Vince the victory just to basically just dump it right in the trash can the very next night. So I think they could have been more creative than this, but who am I complaining? Why am I complaining? At the end of the day, we're getting Roman Reigns now against Kevin Owens in a last man standing match. I've been saying all along that I expect Roman to keep the belt going into WrestleMania, but based on how well Owens has done throughout this program and this feud, and that it's a last man standing match, and that this gives you the opportunity to take the belt off of Roman without beating him or pinning him if you want, especially if you have a shit ton of interference from other guys. Maybe Shinsuke Nakamura wants some revenge. Maybe Adam Pearce wants some revenge. Maybe Daniel Bryan gets involved. Who knows? If you have a lot of guys out there to help maybe Kevin Owens out, maybe he wins the title and then drops it right back to Roman. Mankind did that. Mankind won it in early 99 and then traded it a couple times with The Rock before The Rock, of course, went into WrestleMania. You could do the same thing here. Owens could play the role of Mick Foley. He could play the role of Mankind in 1999, maybe win the title, but then maybe at the next pay-per-view, Roman is so pissed now. You won it in a bullshit way. You didn't really beat me. and let's settle it once and for all or whatever. And then Roman wins the title back, and then he carries the title into WrestleMania to potentially retain it and continue his run. Who says he's got to drop it? So I think that could be a possibility now that it's a last man standing match. And another thing I was thinking about last night in terms of Roman, he's had a lot of stips since he's gotten back, and he hasn't pinned anybody on pay-per-view since he's been champion, since SummerSlam. Clash of Champions, the ref stoppage, right? Survivor Series against Drew McIntyre, also ref stoppage. They were like technical submissions and knockouts. And then Hell in the Cell was a Hell in the Cell, but it was also an I Quit. Then we had TLC. Now we got Last Man Standing. So it's like all stipulation matches for him. Feels like at some point it's within the realm of possibility that he could drop one of them. And I don't think there'd be any fans really complaining that much. I love Roman. I want to continue seeing him roll, but I would love to see Owens get another taste of that belt that he definitely deserves, even if it means dropping it back to Roman and Roman taking the belt into WrestleMania. Either way, it puts Owens back on the top of the card, which is a place that he should have never really left from. He had a big year. He beat Seth Rollins last year at WrestleMania and stuff. So it might be time. And if not, maybe this program reminds WWE about how valuable somebody like Kevin Owens is, and they get through WrestleMania season, and on the other side of that, and maybe he comes back and winds up winning a title then in the summer or something. I'd be fine with that too. But I am going to be disappointed if we make it through 2021 and Owens does not win a world title. I think he's more than earned it. So we'll see. We'll see where that all goes at the Rumble. Let me go in here into the chat, make sure everybody's behaving themselves. No fights. Did anybody spill anything? If you did, please fucking clean it up. Oh, really? Go to WWE's YouTube channel. All right, we got a request here, a live request from Ryan Rhoda. Are we getting some WrestleMania news? Oh, okay. We're going to watch this real quick. What the fuck is going on? Henry E. Pankey? I need a real man. Oh my God. It's Triple H and Steph. Trying to keep the volume down. All right, this was just, oh my God. Okay, so Sonny McLeod. Sonny McNothing, Roman Reigns says. It's Roman and Heyman. They got the Tampa Bay thing behind them, so it's definitely going to be Tampa. Well, this is interesting. We're getting a live news report here right on the podcast. There we go. All right. I don't want the audio to get picked up here in copyright, so I'm going to talk a little bit over this, but they have just announced that it is official, just like we talked about here as we were speculating in the first portion of the podcast. It's official. Raymond James Stadiums will be hosting WrestleMania. But they're just saying this April. They're not saying the date. All right, so this is kind of like what they're doing here. Have you guys seen this? Go over to WWE's YouTube channel and check this out. It's almost like Southpaw Wrestling. They got everybody dressed up. Triple H has got this crazy wig on. Sasha Banks now is doing a backstage interview as some crazy, goofy character. Stephanie is there as I Need a Real Man. Yeah, you're telling me, sweetie. John Cena looks to be on this thing on the red carpet in LA, and of course nobody's there, so that's sad. Okay, I'm going to take a better look at that here once the podcast is over, but the big news coming out of that is that WrestleMania is now officially going to be at Raymond James Stadium, which we figured it would be. The only thing that they didn't do here that I noticed was announce the actual date. They just said this April, so that April 11th date might not be set in stone quite yet, but there you go. I guess that's convenient for the purposes of this podcast, right? Anyway, thank you for that, Ryan, for that heads up. So anyway, Raymond James. Oh, I missed another super chat from you, Spaz. Sorry about that. Thanks for the 2. Men's Dusty final predictions, The Way and MSK. I feel like, yeah, with the MSK there now, I got to look at the brackets. Man, I'm almost thinking Undisputed Era and MSK. but the way would be fun. The way in MSK would be good. I got to look at the brackets to find out. When I was looking at it, I had 16 teams in that thing. It was a pretty good-looking field to where you're guaranteed to get a kick-ass Final Four out of that, no matter what. So I think this is going to be a better Dusty Classic than in recent years. Like, just the field's crazy. So I got to look at it. Look at the brackets again. Ryan, was that announced on that video, or is that speculation? WrestleMania next year will be in Dallas. They're going back to Dallas again in LA in 2023. Yeah, I just want them to get here so I can go. Okay, there's Deshaun Robinson telling me about the Twitter or the WrestleMania dates. Oh, they did. Okay. Holy crap. Okay, so that is official. Here we go. Here we go, y'all. Looks like this year is going to be another 2-day event. Saturday, April 10th, Sunday, April 11th, 2021, WrestleMania 37, Raymond James Stadium. WrestleMania 38, Sunday, April 3rd, 2022 at AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas. And WrestleMania 39 will be here in LA, or up the road in LA, SoFi Stadium, Sunday, April 2nd, 2023. Holy shit. Wow. All right, y'all, 2023. It's on. LA. Y'all better be here. It's 2 years away, but hopefully life will be back to normal. That's very interesting stuff. I'm really glad we learned that during the podcast here, because I would have hated to finish this up and then the minute the podcast is over, all this news that we've been speculating about gets confirmed. Interesting stuff. All right, well, thank you for that, Deshaun. Thank you for that, Ryan. Thanks for the heads up on checking those out. And that's great. Dallas again, yeah. Last time they were there, they put 100,000 in the building. We'll see if they can do that again. WrestleMania 32 was so bad, one of my least favorite WrestleManias. So I'm hoping that this time around for WrestleMania 38, it'll be a good one. We'll have to see. God, so with WrestleMania 39 being in LA, what do y'all think? MetLife? WrestleMania 40? Where's WrestleMania 40 going to be? New York, right? I kind of feel like it has to be there, but WrestleMania 30 wasn't, so I guess it's not that big a deal. Maybe it could be MSG, WrestleMania 40 at the Garden. No way. Wow, that's interesting news. WWE sure did pick a strange way to make those announcements. I mean, they tried to do it in a fun way. Like I said, very Southpaw wrestling type of way there. I'll have to look at that again to see how funny it truly was. But interesting way to make those announcements. Those are huge blockbuster announcements. WrestleMania not only moving cities, but moving dates for this year. It's going to be a 2-night event again. And they've announced the dates for the next 2 WrestleManias and locations. We don't get them that far in advance. We know where they're going to be. They're going to be in Dallas, in LA, COVID pending, of course, that everything works out there. So, oh man. Wow. Interesting stuff. I'm going to go down to the comments after I post this video and put a timestamp on there for people listening to us speculate. They can jump right over here and watch us discover this news real time. So anyway, all right, that's great. Let's get back to business here. Where did I leave off in terms of SmackDown? We were just talking about the Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns stuff and the last man standing match, and now the potential of Owens actually maybe winning the belt or not or whatever. Either way, it's the match that I wanted. I thought it would have been interesting to see Adam Pearce in a match. I think we might still even get that, but I didn't want to see him in this. You know, Kevin Owens is the one to me that earned the spot. So we'll see how that shapes up for Royal Rumble, I should say. Like I said, Shinsuke Nakamura is kind of back to being a babyface now. He took on Jey Uso on SmackDown last night. Now, Uso was also in the ring cutting a promo to the first segment in the show first. And like I said, he seems like a very disheveled, broken type of man. He feels like somebody who's doing the bidding of Roman Reigns. He's completely inside the asshole of Roman Reigns, but at the same time, you feel this like reluctantness to him. He's anxious. He's always walking around. He has this nervous energy. So he seems like a lot of times he gets in his own way and fucks some stuff up a little bit. So he's upset. He did announce that he's going to be declaring, I believe, for the Royal Rumble. And he takes on Shinsuke Nakamura, who comes out to the ring to his old Rising Sun theme, which is back. The old CFO's theme, which is great. We all missed that one. And if he's going to be a babyface, he absolutely has to have that theme. It's so nice to hear that again. And man, this is a guy that a couple of weeks ago on SmackDown lost clean to Otis. Oh, goddamn. So I don't know why he even did that and why they bothered to do that with him, only to turn around and give him a pretty decent little nudge here, because last week he had a performance of a lifetime in the gauntlet match only to be screwed out of it. And now it seems like he's back to being a babyface again, getting a little bit of revenge here on Jey Uso in this match. And we also had Cesaro out there on commentary. He comes out kind of like during the match. His music hits and he walks down and sits down on commentary. And a lot of people have been wondering about the relationship with Shinsuke and Cesaro and what that's going to mean. And I was kind of hoping that they'd keep them together. And if Nakamura's going to go babyface, that Cesaro would go babyface with him, because Cesaro's another guy. You know, what the fuck, man? It was like 7 years ago now that he won that Andre the Giant Battle Royal and was paired with Paul Heyman. And we thought they were going to do great things with him. And he's been literally floundering for 7 years. Won some titles here or there, some tags and stuff, but he's literally been doing the same thing for 7 years. So I would love to see him turn face with Shinsuke and maybe go on a singles run on his own before they do the breakup. But nope, that's not to be. They are clearly going to be breaking up here, because Cesaro sits down on commentary during the match, and they were talking, the commentators, or Cole was asking him about last week when Shinsuke was getting his ass kicked by Roman and Jay. He's like, where were you? And he's like, Tropicana Field is big. Haven't you noticed? By the time I got out here, everybody was gone. You guys were even gone. The lights were out. So he's making all these excuses why he wasn't there to help out Nakamura last week. And that just told me everything I needed to know about that situation. Yeah, he'll definitely be turning on Shinsuke Nakamura at some point in the future. Nakamura got the win here. Another big win for him. And we'll see what winds up happening with him in the Royal Rumble. You know, he won the Royal Rumble already once before, and if WWE is just teasing the fans here, or if they actually have plans to do something with Shinsuke. You can only do so much with him, though, because, you know, the world title situations on both shows are kind of occupied right now. You got McIntyre with his match against Goldberg, who knows what he's doing going into WrestleMania, and we got Goldberg working with Owens. So unless they're setting up an in-between pay-per-view showdown for Roman, because Roman and Owens have worked a lot together, I'm going to guess, unless Owens wins, if he doesn't win, that's it. That's the blow-off. Roman will be done with Kevin Owens. Maybe he needs a challenger prior to WrestleMania, and that challenger is going to be Shinsuke Nakamura. Maybe. But whatever they do, I just hope that Shinsuke is treated like somebody that is good. You know what I mean? It's just these floundering stars that had so much hype coming in and had such great runs in NXT. You know, remember Shinsuke's debut in Dallas on NXT? They just posted a clip of that on WWE's YouTube channel and social media yesterday. Goosebumps, man. You know, coming in like that with all that fanfare and the crowd just fucking eating it up, you know? And now to see what they've done to him is absolutely criminal. So maybe they're trying to salvage him here. I know as a fan, I would love to see that. We'll wait and see where it goes. Who knows? We also had Natalya picking up a win over Liv Morgan. They got Billie Kay out there again. Billie Kay, of course, is trying to be a manager and stuff and hanging out with the Riot Squad. And now we've got like punk rock Billie Kay. She's dressed a little funnier, a little different than normal. That's just what we need, right? We need a punk rock Billie Kay, because regular Billie Kay isn't nearly as energetic enough or eccentric enough. She's out of her mind. But she kind of screws up here. She a little distraction backfired. She spent some time on commentary, but then made a mistake allowing Natalya to roll up and pin Liv Morgan, so that didn't really work out. Riot Squad seemed to be a little bit annoyed with her. We'll keep on our eye on the situation. Billie Kay cracks me up sometimes. She is I think she has potential to be somebody really funny. I guess the jury is still out on a lot of this. Some people don't like it. Some people don't find any of this stuff entertaining. But I look at Billie Kay as somebody who's so out of her mind that she kind of fits right in professional wrestling. I don't know why people think, oh, she's not as good or whatever. She's out of her mind. She can be great. She's like a Xerox copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. Because, you know, when you make a copy of something, it's not, and then make a copy of that copy, it's not really quite as good as the original. Well, if you follow that process, you start with Sensational Sherry and you make a bunch of copies of her. And when you get down to like the 20th copy, that's like where Billie Kay is. She's got that craziness, that wildness, the energetic, the voice, all of that. She's just doesn't have it all put together as well as Sherry did, but she's spazzy like that, and she's twitchy as hell, and I like her. So I want to see her continue to do crazy batshit things on TV. I need to be entertained, and Billie Kay is somebody that I'm actually pulling for right now. I am very much in agreement with all the fans that think it's absolutely stupid that they split up. Why do I keep doing that? Excuse me. I need to mark this down anyway. Why they keep splitting up, or why they did split up the Iconics only for Billie and Peyton to go with new partners and to have new alliances. It's a lot of fans find it stupid. I agree, especially on the Peyton Royce side of things, because it feels like her is a little bit more of a tag team. where Billie Kay seems like, she's bouncing around to a lot of different people on SmackDown, but still, they're just forming a lot that seemed like they were going to break them up to start singles, and they're just forming alliances with people anyway. So why the fuck did you do that? You should have just kept them together. WWE, man. Poor Tucker. Anybody seen him? Same deal. Split up Heavy Machinery for no reason. What was the point? What's Otis doing as a singles? Nothing. So poor Tucker just got screwed. Completely screwed. Totally screwed. So I don't know what they're doing here, but I'm kind of liking Billie Kay. I'm not going to lie. After that, we have Baron Corbin taking on Rey Mysterio. Now, Dominic was with Rey. Dominic sat in on commentary for this. And the announced team, especially Corey Graves, giving him a little bit of shit about going in there and helping his dad and stuff. They're teasing something going on here with Dominic and Rey, because eventually Dominic tries to interfere, tries to help out Rey Mysterio. It backfires. Corbin hits the end of days on Rey and pins him for the win. Dominic makes a mistake. Rey is in the ring. He forgives him, of course. It's a learning experience type of thing. They're trying to sell it on commentary, and they even did a little backstage promo after that. But it feels like this is a situation here where they wouldn't be doing anything like this if they wouldn't be planting the seed, basically, if they're not going to have some sort of a payoff here. So we've been talking ever since the time that we saw Dominic appear on TV for the first time. We've been talking about him turning on his dad. So at some point, maybe he'll do this, or better yet, maybe Rey turns on him. Who says it has to be Dominic? Maybe they can be like the Lucha, Shane and Vince McMahon, where they're just constantly battling with each other. Some days they're aligned, other days they're against each other. Sometimes Vince is the face, sometimes Shane is the face, sometimes Vince is the heel. You know how it went. So maybe they can be like that version of them. But something's going to happen here. I don't know what it's going to lead to. I guess it's going to lead to a match. Is that something Rey and Dominic want to do? Have a match together against each other? I mean, I can't think of it. If they do that, we've had father-son matches. We've had Vince and Shane. What other father-son matches have we had? Maybe just that. This will probably be the best one and the most athletically contended one, because Rey is still capable. Rey is still good. You don't see fathers in the ring with their sons very often, especially when they're tag team partners, like when Dusty tagged with Dustin, or when Larry the Axe tagged with Kurt, or anything like that. A lot of times the dad is old and slow and not doing much. That won't be the case with Rey Mysterio here. So if this does lead to Rey and Dominic potentially at WrestleMania, maybe they want to do something like the Hardy Boys did. Hardy's had a great match with each other at 25. Matt and Jeff, and Matt won. So maybe Rey wants to put over his son on the grandest stage of them all. I wouldn't be surprised. Keep a lookout for that. What'd y'all think about Ding Dong Hello? Bailey's got a new talk show, Ding Dong Hello. So it's interesting, the two role models in the two companies both have talk shows now, because Britt Baker has got the waiting room, which we'll be talking about in a minute, and Bailey's got Ding Dong Hello. So they got a door set up in the ring, a bench or a stool there for the guest, and a nice comfortable couch for the host. And Bailey is dressed like the high school geometry teacher or something like that. She looked very strange in her full-on sports coat and turtleneck and jeans and all that. She's got like a chain or a gold necklace on or something like that. And she's wearing glasses, and she comes out and welcomes us to her new show. And her guest is going to be Bianca Belair. Bianca comes out and sits in Bailey's nice, super duper comfortable chair. Bailey doesn't like that, but she is just like, okay, you can have it. She sits on the stool, and she shows a replay of Bailey beating Bianca last week. And then Bianca gets on the mic and just basically gives her a piece of her mind and puts Bailey in her place and leaves. And that was it. So we had no scuffle. We had no fight. And that was our first look at Ding Dong Hello. I think that this has potential. I think it's a good thing to do with Bailey now that she's had a long run with the title. Probably isn't going to be back wearing gold, at least for a little while right now, while other people have their runs. But she's also one of your top stars. This is kind of a pattern. This is something they do when they're like, oh, we don't want to forget about her and do nothing with her, but we can't really put her in the title picture right now either. So give her a talk show. And I think Bailey will get better at this as she goes. I'm actually on board with this idea and this concept, because we've seen lots of wrestling talk shows throughout the years and stuff, but Bailey is somebody that's so funny and has had such a great 2020, and her transition from the hugger into who she is now, and especially during the pandemic stuff. And she brought this up on the Broken Skull Sessions with Steve Austin, the Bailey episode. Take a look at that if you haven't seen it. It's a great watch. And she talked about how she had to kind of entertain herself during the pandemic, because there was no fans there, and she just started giving it to Michael Cole and giving him such a hard time. She's absolutely to die for when she sits in on guest commentary, when she's there with Cole making all of her noise and everything. So all that's great. And Bayley is absolutely hilarious. So this is something that I think suits her well. I think this is something that fits her like a glove and could potentially get better and better and more entertaining and almost evolve. So I hope that they give Bayley a chance to run with this for a little while, because I do think she can be hilarious. And I think the segment here has potential. I'm not a huge fan. I talked about this on Wednesday too. What I like about the waiting room, I think Ding Dong Hello was better put together than the waiting room. But one thing I do like about the waiting room on AEW is that the set is more of an old school set. It's like a Brother Love set, a Snake Pit set, a Heartbreak Hotel set, Piper's Pit, Flower Shop. It's not in the ring. I think doing it in the ring is really lazy. And every talk show in modern history, in the modern era, all this shit is done in the ring. I kind of like having the sets off to the side, like Flair for the Gold and shit like that in WCW too. So the fact that AEW does it that way, I appreciate that more as an old school fan, because that's the way I would like to see it. But the two segments, when you pair them side by side, I think Bayley's was maybe a little bit better. And Bayley, you know, I don't know who's funnier, Bayley or Britt Baker. That's a pretty big tie. Britt was hysterical when she was injured, and her interactions with Tony Schiavone, they're very similar. They both go by role model, right? Britt has got the relationship with Tony Schiavone, just like Bayley kind of has that relationship with Michael Cole. They're very similar. They both have talk shows now. We need ourselves a dream match between Bayley and Britt Baker. Let's put that shit together. But we'll see how Ding Dong Hello continues to go in the future. We do have Bayley and Bianca Belair both in the Royal Rumble match also, so that should be interesting. And I'm sure between now and the Rumble, we'll get a match between these two on TV, or they might book it for the Rumble, and then they work double duty or something. I don't know. Backstage, we've got an Alpha Academy workout. Otis and Daniel Bryan and Chad Gable doing their squats or whatever the fuck backstage. That's pretty funny. And Daniel Bryan, you know, he cuts a promo, and he does really seem to be on board with Chad Gable's teachings. He really seems to be invested in the Alpha Academy workout. Bryan should be the leader of this faction, not the other way around. But I kind of like what he's doing. He kind of fits in both with these dorky guys. They're like three dorks, and I think it works out perfect, and I'm liking it so far. So I'm on board with this. Not a big Otis fan, but maybe in this setting, he'll grow on me a little bit. Cesaro shows up there as well and gets in the face of Daniel Bryan. They've got a match right after the commercial break here, and Cesaro says that he's Shinsuke's friend and nobody should speak for Shinsuke, because Daniel Bryan alluded to the fact that he has respect for Nakamura, and that's why they shook hands last week. And Cesaro's like, you don't speak for my friend. It was just a pity handshake or something like that. So just more, you know, adding fuel to the fire that he's totally going to be turning on Shinsuke Nakamura at any time. And now we get Daniel Bryan and Cesaro in a one-on-one match, and this was really good. And it finished with a clean win for Cesaro. Cesaro actually beats Daniel Bryan completely clean with a neutralizer. Cesaro gets his head busted open somehow. I didn't see how it happened. If he took a stairs bump on the outside or a post bump, or you know, maybe he just got caught with a right hand or something like that. But looked like he had a pretty big gash on the side of his head, and he was bleeding pretty hard there. But he beat Daniel Bryan last week, so Bryan went down 2 weeks in a row to Nakamura and Cesaro. And we'll see, like I said, where this leads. If these losses lead to something better for Daniel Bryan, then hey, I'm all for this completely. Good match there. We'll see where the Cesaro and Shinsuke stuff goes from here. But yeah, we're getting a heel turn real soon, probably before the Royal Rumble, if I had to guess. Or maybe not. Maybe Cesaro, maybe one of these guys dumps out the other. They might try to stretch it. Cesaro's going to be bullshitting like he's completely in love with Shinsuke and their friends and all that stuff. You get to the Royal Rumble, and maybe he either turns on Shinsuke, tossing him out, or Nakamura tosses him out and says, hey, sorry, bro, it's every man for himself. And that's just enough to push Cesaro over the edge. Maybe he turns heel and they do the deal we see a lot in Royal Rumbles, where he then gets back in the Royal Rumble after being eliminated, attacks Nakamura, tosses him over the top rope, eliminating him, beating the shit out of him. And that sets up your Nakamura and Cesaro feud on TV. But with no belt on the line there, I don't know how much fun that would even be, but they are going to be doing that soon, I assume. Carmella and Sasha are continuing their deal. We're probably going to get a rematch, I guess, maybe at the Royal Rumble. She's backstage wondering where Sasha is. Carmella, that is. She's got her little sommelier with her, and Kayla Braxton's doing the interview, and she goes, where's Sasha? I haven't seen her in a couple of weeks. And then Sasha just shows up and shoves her down and then gets in the face of her little lackey there. And it was just weird because you're in this like wide open space. So if you're cutting a promo, you'd be able to see Sasha coming. You know what I mean? I hate it when she like, oh, you're here. Like she was, how'd you not fucking see her? They do that shit in the other backstage interviews all the time too. It's annoying. So I don't care much about this program. And not much happened there. She just shoved Carmella down and got in the face of the lackey. That was it. Apollo Crews has got a match with Sami Zayn next. Of course, we saw Apollo hanging out with Roman Reigns, and he got a little pep talk from Paul Heyman the week before on Talking Smack. Seems to be trying to develop a new personality or a new attitude here. And the best part about this match was Big E. Big E is on the outside of the ring with this couch. He's got this whole couch. So Bayley had a chair in the ring, and now Big E's got a whole couch on the outside of the ring next to the commentary table. He also has a mini fridge next to the couch, which was hilarious. And I love Big E. He's one of my favorite people. But I got to be honest here, and I don't mean to brag. Big E, I hate to tell you, my mini fridge is bigger. I got one right over there. It's bigger than his. More girthy than anything else. But I loved seeing Big E sitting there on the couch with his mini fridge, and he's having snacks and he's watching the match. Apollo winds up winning the match, beats Sami Zayn, goes on the outside of the ring, and actually has the nerve to touch our man's belt, picks up the Intercontinental title, and Big E's like, oh, hell no. And he grabs it away, and they kind of jaw-jack with each other. So that issue isn't over. That's not settled yet. Looks like Apollo wants another shot at the title. And I don't know in terms of his association so far with Heyman and Roman, if that's just a temporary deal, or if, let's say, he beats Big E for the title, if he maybe joins Heyman's crew and Heyman's sitting there with Roman and Apollo as champions. I don't know. Does Apollo fit as a Heyman guy? I mean, every time they've tried to make someone else a Heyman guy like Kurt Axel and Cesaro, it has not worked out. In Ryback, it has not really worked out that well. So I don't know if that's even a really good fit for Apollo. I think it might even be better if he just used them for advice instead of being a full-blown Paul Heyman advocate. Paul Heyman being somebody that says, you know, I'm there for you if you ever need advice or whatever, and uses that as motivation for Apollo. I don't know, but if they do wind up pulling the trigger on a full-blown Apollo Crews heel turn, I'd be into that, because every time I think a babyface wouldn't make a good heel, a lot of times they surprise me. Sami Zayn did that and Bayley did that. So I think Apollo going heel and having a little bit more of a chip on his shoulder, a little bit more of an attitude, a little bit more vicious, because like I said, he's way too clean and good-looking. He's a good-looking guy, and he's always very happy, and he's got a good attitude and good spirit, good fighting spirit. You know, just see him get that edge, that killer instinct, you know, that sort of thing, I think could add a hell of a lot to his character. And I hope that he goes in that direction and is a little bit more, uses his size and his strength. I mean, he's an athlete, man. That guy's amazing. So do it. Make him like the new Monty Brown or something. I don't know. We will see. That wraps it up for last night's Smackdown. So not a bad show, you know, pretty decent. And, you know, like I said, with Kevin Owens stuff, it now sets up a really fun match for the title at WrestleMania, or I'm sorry, at Royal Rumble. But on the other side of that coin, you got to remember we have Drew McIntyre, at least right now, scheduled to face Goldberg. Drew McIntyre is quarantined right now, dealing with COVID-19. But apparently, based on what we saw last Monday, he did the promo saying he's going to face Goldberg and he should be out of the woods by then. So that match will go off, but without a hitch, hopefully. But I kind of hope it gets canceled too, because I do not want to see Goldberg win the title, and I'm worried that he will. Oh, man. All right, I do got a couple of super chats I need to answer there, and then we'll just kind of just blow through a little bit of the Wednesday night results from both shows. A couple of interesting happenings on both of those Wednesday night shows. We'll talk about the ratings as well. Then I'll hang out, answer a few more questions, and chill here and get out of here, because I know Hard to Kill, I think, is kicking off right now, so some people might want to watch that. If you are here, by the way, please do me a favor and don't forget to smash the thumbs up. I would definitely appreciate that. And I want to knock out a couple of these other super chats before we get into Wednesday. Crash, thanks for the $2, dude. I appreciate it. Why do they do WrestleMania in the same 5 or 6 states? Well, we've talked a lot about that in the past. There's one thing you have to remember about WrestleManias. Now, with them being in big stadiums, you only have 2 options. Warm climate, indoors. That's it. So the only time they've ever made an exception there is for their biggest market, which is in New York. And MetLife, of course, is not an indoor stadium. But otherwise, they can't go to Chicago. You can't do Soldier Field, in fucking March. It's going to be butt-ass cold there. You can't go anywhere with an outdoor stadium. So that limits you to Florida and California, because the climates there are nice, and you can be there all the time. Otherwise, you got to look for stadiums with enclosures. Dallas. Atlanta's got a brand new one. Would love to see them go to Atlanta. But other places like Philly, Chicago, New York, even Charlotte, who I think should get a WrestleMania. These are all outdoor places for the time of year that WrestleMania is. Charlotte could probably pull it off, but certainly not Philly and Chicago and New York and stuff like that. They're just not good cities for that. Too cold or a fucking rain or something. So keeping it inside is what they have to do, or go outside somewhere like Florida where it's warm, or somewhere out here like California, like LA or something or San Francisco, like we saw for 31, where it never fucking rains. So that does really limit them. But you do have some big stadiums now that need WrestleManias. I know there's one in Minnesota. The new one there should get one. Detroit has had one at Ford Field. I would like to see them go back there as well. You got a brand new, beautiful arena as well in Atlanta. And of course, Arizona as well. In Phoenix, they did the WrestleMania 26 there. So you are kind of limited. And the only states that I think really have missed out are maybe the Chicago and the Phillies because of, where they are. All the other, they're not going to put a WrestleMania in St. Louis, I don't think, just kind of a weird place. So, and they've done one in New Orleans and stuff too. So it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is, unfortunately, but there's a lot to consider with those big crowds. Nick Musser, appreciate the $2 thought on James Harden trade. That was a big one. That set up a pretty awesome big three in Brooklyn, reuniting Durant and James Harden. I don't know, though. James Harden kind of brings a lot of baggage with him, doesn't he? He's a complete fucking pain in the ass. Dude plays no defense at all, travels like a motherfucker, and apparently much like Russell Westbrook is kind of annoying to deal with in the locker room. So if everybody can just stay cool, Brooklyn, I think, could be better than the Lakers and beat them if it came down to that in the finals. And I don't even know if the Lakers would make it because the West might be strong this year. I think Lakers title might have come just in the name of Kobe, and that might be it for them. It's going to be might be a different story for them this year. But I don't know. I'm not a huge James Harden fan just because when I just see the highlight clips of him not doing anything on defense, I'm like, what are you doing? My God, I'd be fucking running laps forever in high school if I played defense like that. You'd make me ready. Go run 6 miles, Morgan. Get out of here with that shit. I don't know. We'll see. Definitely makes an interesting team there. I mean, Kyrie Irving and Harden and Durant. Holy shit. I think that big three is every bit as strong as the Miami one with Wade, LeBron, and Bosh, right? Holy shit. Isaiah B, appreciate the $5. How do you feel about the 2-day Mania? I like it, but only with fans. The Thunderdome helps, but it's a struggle to listen to promos with that. The 2-day Mania, I'm going to have to think about that. I guess I'm okay with it this year only because by the time we get to WrestleMania, COVID will not be out of our lives, and it's going to have to be dealt with, and it might have to be a different type of setup for WrestleMania, and it might have to involve some more cinematic type of matches. And if they have a lot of that stuff going on, it's probably best to split it up with 2 days. Didn't hear anything about potential Hall of Fame plans at all. Don't know what's going on there either, how that's going to work. But I had made the pitch a while back that if they do a Hall of Fame and they're able to have some sort of a Hall of Fame ceremony, like I said, maybe not fans, but maybe virtually, I would love to see them induct last year's class and then have a 1-member class for 2021. That way you can knock out all the ones from last year and still have a full Hall of Fame show and make the only Hall of Fame class member of 2021 be The Undertaker and put him in alone after last year's class gets inducted, if there was a way to pull that off. But I don't think we've gotten any news on that yet. Hopefully we will soon, though. It's interesting that they made that announcement because, as I was saying in the beginning of the podcast, I was like, as a fan, I just hope that I know what to expect. I don't want to have to just worry about WWE waiting until the last minute to announce something or trying to figure shit out. Like, I'm hoping WWE has made internal plans on what to do for WrestleMania, and they give us a date and location soon. Not only did they give us a date and location soon, they gave it to us before the podcast was even over, and they announced where the next 2 WrestleManias after that are going to be. So that's huge. That's a huge announcement. So in terms of the Hall of Fame, WWE, I think, has at least thought about it. At least they are either going to scrap it completely or figure something else out. Maybe that's an announcement that's coming later on. Don't know. We'll see. Oh, yeah, Ryan, Vegas would work. Vegas is outdoors, right? I think Vegas Stadium is outdoors, but that's fine because it doesn't rain in Vegas. And they did WrestleMania 9 there. And yeah, I think WrestleMania could go back to Vegas. Vegas would be almost a new city. I think they could make a trip back to Seattle as well, although I think Safeco would be better for a Rumble. than a WrestleMania. But yeah, I think the cities that need them now: LA, Vegas, Minneapolis, Atlanta. Those are the big new stadiums that I think will get a WrestleMania at some point. But with them going back to Dallas, and then of course LA getting postponed 2 years, that's interesting. Yeah, Stone Cold. I think a lot of people in Houston are probably happy to be rid of him. He sounded like a pain in the ass to me. Anyway, let's run through a little bit of the Wednesday night shows. Dynamite and NXT this week were both kind of mediocre. I do think I enjoyed Dynamite more this week. NXT was okay, but, again, much of it was, I don't want to say skippable, but not a whole lot was laid out or set up for anything, any future plans quite yet. But ratings were down for both shows. AEW drew 762,000 viewers to NXT's 551,000. So pretty solid victory for AEW Dynamite, but also down a bit for both shows from where they were the previous couple of weeks. But Dynamite, I like the match they opened with here because we were waiting for this one for a while. How long have we been waiting to see Eddie Kingston and Pac? I mean, they put that together. They started laying the groundwork for that a while back. We finally get it now. This is a fun match because they're so equally physically matched, right? No, I'm kidding. These guys have two very different body styles and ring styles, but it made for a really fun match, and Eddie Kingston was just all over the place. Pac wound up winning with the Black Arrow. After the match, he continues the assault. I think he puts him in the brutalizer submission. And then Eddie Kingston's family runs out, so we get a standoff with Butcher and the Blade and Lucha Brothers and Pac and all of that. And that's when Lance Archer comes out with Jake in just an amazing outfit. Jake, don't ever change. I loved what you were wearing there. Please wear that every week. And Lance Archer completely clears out and cleans house of everybody. And then he kind of has this uneasy alliance with Pac, like they're kind of they don't like each other, but they got this common enemy type of thing. So they did that deal with Archer, and apparently Archer cut his hair off. We'll have to see what he looks like this week. After that, we get Miro taking on Chuck Taylor. This was set up last week. I love the Seinfeld reference here. The stipulation in this match is that if Miro wins, Chuck Taylor has to be his butler for 30 days. This is a reference to Seinfeld in the pilot that him and George are trying to write on the show for Seinfeld, show within a show. And I guess part of the premise of the first episode is that a judge orders somebody to be his butler for 30 days or some shit like that. So nice little reference to Seinfeld there. Chuck does not put much of a fight up here. Miro beats him rather easily with the accolade, which I think he's now calling the game over, right? Which is fitting, I suppose. And now Chuck Taylor has to be Miro's bodyguard for 30 days. That's going to be fun. We'll see. This is really going to happen. And Chuck is probably going to have to wear a little butler suit and carry little drinks on a tray and all that shit. I can't wait to see it. We get, after that, the big Inner Circle meeting, or the Inner Circle New Year's resolution promo that was really fun. I like this a lot. You got all 8 members, I think, of the Inner Circle in the ring now, and they're all going through their New Year's resolution and what they want to accomplish in 2021. And when it gets to Jericho's turn, he says that he wants to team up with MJF and become AEW Tag Team Champions. And a lot of Inner Circle members took exception to this, Proud and Powerful being 2 of them, saying, hey, I thought we were the team in the Inner Circle. We're the ones that should be getting the shots of the belt. We came in with a lot of, we have a long legacy. We have a long history. We've been a team for a long time. We've won championships. We should be the tag team, the official tag team of the Inner Circle. Sammy Guevara, of course, obviously gets a little bit upset by this too, because he was Le Sex Gods with Chris Jericho, and he gets mad at that, and he calls Jericho a tag team slut, which I fucking loved. And that was probably line of the night there, tag team slut, which is kind of accurate because that's exactly what Jericho's being. He's been real wishy-washy with his tag teams. He's just been teaming up with everybody, and Sammy called him out for that, so that was cool. Jericho decides that they're going to settle all this next week, and they're going to do a triple threat match within the Inner Circle of the 3 tag teams in the Inner Circle. So it's going to be Proud and Powerful taking on Jericho and MJF, taking on Jake Hager and Sammy Guevara. Sammy Hager, they call it. And then Jericho goes, Sammy Hager? Are you serious? And then Sammy goes, what? What's so funny about that? And Jericho's like, never mind. Boy, can I relate to Jericho. Whenever I'm at work or something, I work with a lot of young people, and I make some reference to something and they don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm just like, forget it. It's not even worth explaining it to them. So the fact that they're actually calling them Sammy Hagar, and they even have Sammy Hagar on the graphic, the match graphic, is fucking great. So that match is taking place next week. The winner of this will be the official tag team of the Inner Circle. So we'll see. I'm kind of curious if this is maybe a setup to get Proud and Powerful out of the group. I like them in the group. I still think they're going to do the eventual deal where Inner Circle turns on Jericho and beats him up and Jericho turns babyface or something. But now, with everything going on with the tag teams, I'm wondering if this is a seed planting of a babyface turn, or maybe Proud and Powerful leaving the group and becoming their own tag team and just kind of entering the division, since, they haven't been really getting a lot of shot at the titles. And now Jericho wants to challenge with MJF for the championships. So we'll see. I'm assuming Jericho and MJF are going to win that next week, because I can see them doing that. I can see Jericho and MJF becoming tag team champions. Just sounds like something that would happen there. So I kind of am predicting them to win next week, but it could also lead to some more fallout with the Inner Circle. This is a couple of times within the last month now that they've had Inner Circle matches with each other. And how long can they sustain this before the group just completely implodes? I don't think it's going to be very long. We've got Dark Order teaming up with Adam Page next week. They had a promo backstage about how they see themselves in 2021. I also saw that I believe next week on Dynamite is going to be like a little birthday celebration for -1. Brody Lee's son has a birthday next week, and I think they're going to bring the family back again to maybe do some more stuff there. So that should be nice. And looks like Adam Page has kind of been strong-armed or forced or requested to make a decision as to whether or not he's going to join the Dark Order next week. So John Silver says, hey, next week after the match, you'll make your decision, right? And Page is like, yeah, sure, I'll make it. So we'll see if that actually happens. After that, we had the pretty fun Kenny Omega, Good Brothers, Bucks swerve. I guess this is supposed to be a 6-man match. It's supposed to be Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks taking on the Varsity Blondes and a young guy by the name of Danny Limelight. He looks like a little Walmart version of Ricochet, but really good. Holy shit. Danny Limelight, if you're watching, you impressed the hell out of me. He had a great outing here in this match. But before the match happens, Kenny Omega and the Bucks are backstage, and Don Callis is there, and they're like, hey, and he's like, hey, what's up, Bucks? You guys are great. I'll tell you what, we're not going to go out there together. We're going to go out there first because you guys deserve your own entrances. I love your entrance. I love your music, and kind of kisses their ass a little bit, and then Kenny makes his way to the ring with the big elaborate cleaner entrance that he does, and then Callis gets on the mic, and he's seemingly going to introduce the Young Bucks, saying these guys go way back with Kenny Omega, and these are good friends and they're great and blah blah blah, and talks them up. But instead of the Bucks, he introduces the Good Brothers, who we saw invade AEW last week. Gallows and Anderson come out. They're of course the current Impact Tag Team Champions. They might be on TV right this very second because Hard to Kill is on, and they jump in the ring instead to join up with Kenny Omega, and the Bucks are kind of left like dumbfounded, like what the fuck was that about? Why did they do that to us or whatever? And they're a little bit confused. So instead of the Bucks, it turns out to be the Good Brothers. And I had said last week when they jumped in the ring with AEW and two of the people that they fought off was Pillman and Garrison. I said, give me the Good Brothers versus the Varsity Blondes next week because I want to see Gallows and Anderson in an AEW ring. And they pretty much did that here in the form of a 6-man. But like I said, Danny Limelight was the star of this thing. He was bumping all over the place. Really good outing for him. And he showed some promise. We get, of course, Omega and the Good Brothers win this, of course, not surprisingly. And that's when Jon Moxley comes out after the match and attacks all three of them. Lucha Brothers come out as well to help out. Mox clears everybody out of the ring. And that's when the Young Bucks show up to try to be like peacemakers. And they're kind of standing there with Moxley, but Penta and Phoenix super kick the Bucks, and then the officials and the talent come out to kind of cool things off, and everybody retreats. And it just, it leaves you wondering what the hell this even means, why Omega and Callis went through this trouble to humiliate the Young Bucks when they all did the Too Sweet thing the week before, and what this is all going to lead to. And, here you thought everybody might be on the same page, but now that might not be the case. I would love to see the Bucks show up at Hard to Kill or an Impact at some point. Would be even cool if they resurrected Generation Me. I think that would be awesome if we see that over there, but I don't really watch Impact, and I'm not sure what's going down over there. So you guys got to tell me that deal. But good stuff there from those guys, and I like that it made you wondering what the hell they're doing. I mentioned the waiting room segment earlier on, Britt Baker's talk show. They do one of these here. Like I said, I do like the set, and I like the fact that it's off and not in the ring, but this was a real clunky type of thing. Cody Rhodes was supposed to be the guest. He can't even get a word out, and Jade Cargill shows up along with Red Velvet, and they start fighting, and there's a pull apart there. And then you see Thunder Rosa on the screen telling Britt Baker that Tony Khan has given her a match against Britt Baker at Beach Break on February 3rd. This was supposed to be in Miami. AEW has scrap plans to move their shows to Miami for that month, and everything is going to remain in Daly's place indefinitely until things change. So the Beach Break show will be there, and that's when Thunder Rosa gets her match with Britt Baker. Britt's very upset about that, saying, no, I'm not supposed to get a match with her. It can't be. No. And then they show the graphic on the screen, and she screams out, no. That was pretty funny. But the segment itself was just a mess, just a lot going on. I think they can be better with this, and they can produce these better, because this has potential. Britt Baker's got a ton of charisma. I think she's great, and I think they just need to tighten up and organize these type of segments, because it was all over the place and it was almost like overwritten, overbooked type of shit there. I think the waiting room could be better and should be better. So straighten your shit out, AEW. After that, we get the match that was set up last week with Marco Stunt going apeshit on FTR in a backstage promo, challenging them to a tag team match this week. He's going to take Luchasaurus's place, not Jungle Boy's place, but Luchasaurus's place, team up with Jungle Boy to take on FTR. Shout out to Tony Khan and AEW, who I guess have bought the rights to use Tarzan Boy as Jungle Boy's new entrance theme, which is awesome. Awesome song from back in like maybe 84, 85. I was just a kid when that song came out, and that fits him well. Fits him really well. So I'm really glad that he's using that as his theme music. In the end, though, of course, these guys are not going to be beating FTR. FTR, they put up a little bit of the fight, but in the end, FTR hits the Shatter Machine, which they have called, I heard the announcers refer to it as the Big Rig. That's so awesome. It sounds to me like they've renamed their finisher after Brody Lee. FTR's awesome. So that's cool. They won the match there. Good for them. And awesome that Jungle Boy gets to use that theme song now. Very happy. Oh, man, did I love this women's match. This was good. Serena Deeb defeated Tay Conti in a really good match. I love Tay Conti. I can't believe NXT was stupid enough to let her go. Serena Deeb, of course, we know she's a pro. She's awesome. I liked Serena Deeb, of course, impresses every time that she's out there. She's a great champion. And Conti really put up a good fight here. She fought hard. And that's all I can ask out of somebody like her. She's fantastic. I like her a lot. I love the BFF friendship she has with Anna Jay. I think the longer that goes, the more meaningful it will be whenever these two finally decide to tear each other's eyes out and they go the Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn way. But I think if they can stay friends for as long as possible, like Zayn and Owens or like a Bayley and Sasha, and then do the split, it'll be all that much more meaningful. So I like them both. I wish Anna Jay, we just all adore her. She's doing really well. She's improving a lot. She's good. She's got a great look. Tay Conti's got a little bit more experience than Anna Jay, but is equally has equal amount of potential, and she's great. So anyway, good win for Serena. We'll keep an eye on what goes on there. Who's Serena facing next? Does she got a title defense coming up? I thought they had announced something, but I can't remember. Anyway, main event time now on Dynamite. This is a good one. Darby Allin defending the TNT Championship against Brian Cage. And this was a 100-pound weight difference. They did the weigh-in last week. I think Cage was 270. Darby's 170. And Darby, you knew this was just going to be him just taking really sick, hellacious bumps from Cage, just tossing him all over the place, which he does. And even just a couple of minutes in the match, it's a complete Rocky III moment. Brian Cage picks up Darby Allin and thunder lips his ass all the way over the top rope into the outside of the ring area, and he crashes through a table. It looked very much like when Hogan tossed Stallone into the fourth row in the Rocky movie. And he landed on that cage and Darby on the table, and Darby just exploded the table into a million pieces, slicing his head open in the process. So he comes up completely bloody from that, takes a whole lot of more bumps and spills, but still, trying to deliver as much offense as he can to Brian Cage. He even gets Cage down at one point and does a coffin drop from the middle rope on the outside of the ring onto the steps where Cage is landing. That was ridiculous. Darby takes a power bomb onto the stage over the top rope from Brian Cage, which looked really bad. At one point, this reminded me of Bret Hart. At one point, Darby took his belt off and he tied up Brian Cage's feet with the belt. It reminded me of the match I just reviewed on the channel from Royal Rumble 1995, Bret and Diesel, when Bret took off his wrist tape and tied it around Diesel's feet so he could just beat the shit out of him. Darby taking off his belt was very innovative there, and I liked that a lot. And he basically tied his legs to get him down on the map. In the end, though, Ricky Starks and Hook try to interfere, and I was worried about one thing in this match the whole time. I even tweeted it during the match. I said, this is a great match. It's fast-paced. It's exciting. The one thing that could slow it down is a Sting entrance. And I knew we were going to see Sting. There was no way we were not going to see Sting. What I didn't want to see happen is the lights go out, and then the snow starts falling, and then the music starts, and then Tony Schiavone says, it's Sting, and then he walks his 60-year-old ass through the tunnel and makes his way down to the ring, killing all of the excitement and the momentum that the match has built up until that point. And I was just waiting for it, and I knew it was going to happen. And of course, when Starks and Hook interfere, lights go out, but no bullshit. They did the right thing. Lights came right back on. No big entrance. Sting is standing right there with the baseball bat and actually whacks Ricky Starks with it a couple of times. I think this is the first time Sting has gotten physical on AEW. And that allowed Darby Allin, I think Cage has got him up on the second rope. He's going to hit him with some sort of a driver or something like that, but Darby reverses it and basically crucifixes Cage off the second rope into a crucifix pin and pins him to retain the title. Really hard landing too, because Darby hits the mat with basically all of Brian Cage's weight coming down onto his side. So I hope Darby Allin's okay after that bump, but is able to hold Brian Cage down for the pin and retains the title. So that was all good stuff. Sting did not ruin this, which I was worried that he would. I like Sting. I got nothing against him being there, but based on every one of his entrances so far, they've been, they kind of slow you down. And if your adrenaline's pumping, it's going to be, it's going to kind of kill that. So I'm glad that they kept that short and sweet. Lights went out, came back on. He's there, baseball bat, whacked to the melon of Ricky Starks, and that was it, and allowed Darby Allin to retain the title. So that was a very good main event, very fun main event. One of the biggest reasons why I think AEW, for me, definitely beats NXT this week was because that was fun. And Darby Allin has proven that he's one hell of a champion. I guess that they still haven't exactly explained what the relationship with Sting and Darby is, but I guess Sting is maybe not a manager role, maybe a mentor role, maybe a guardian angel type of role, because he's only shown up when Darby has needed it. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes, but good win there. And Darby is a hell of a TNT champion. He's exciting. He's fun, and I like him a lot. We'll roll through here. NXT from Wednesday as well. Like I said, they just drew a little bit over 500,000 viewers for their show this week. We had Candice LeRae defeating Shotzi Blackheart, much like Serena Deeb and Tay Conti on Dynamite. Candice and Shotzi was a good match here. She hit a nice, Candice hit a nice swinging neck breaker, almost like a shake, rattle, and roll from the middle turnbuckle to pin Shotzi for the win there. But she did have a lot of help from Indy Hartwell, no surprise. Later on in the night, too, Shotzi was interviewed backstage, and she announced that Ember Moon will be her tag team partner for the Dusty Classic. Spaz Phoenix informed us that the two of them have already picked up their first victory and have advanced. So that's a pretty good team right there. I got to look at the bracket there, too, because it's not fresh in my mind, the men's or the women's one, but that's a team right there that's on my early list of people that I want to win. Shotzi and Ember, I would love to see them take the Sapphire Classic. That would be awesome. Finn Balor cut a promo on Wednesday as well. He's attacked by Danny Burch, Orny Lorcan, and Pete Dunne. Undisputed Era come out to make the save for Balor. A little bit of a stare down with him and Kyle O'Reilly. No handshake, but definitely some respect there between the two of them. And Balor kind of walks away. We had Johnny Gargano defeating Dexter Lumis. This was a fun match, a kind of a roll-up victory for Johnny Gargano there with some Austin Theory interference. Kushida comes out there to make the save as well and winds up locking Gargano in his finisher. And Gargano screaming and yelling, I believe. So that feels like that's going to be your next title program, which is completely fine with me. Kushida and Gargano. Yes, please, and I'll take seconds. After that, we had a round one Dusty Classic match. Grizzled Young Veterans defeating Everrise. No real big surprise there. Battle of a couple of heel teams here, but both teams are very entertaining. And Everrise, I just like watching them lose all the time. It's hilarious. And I think Grizzled Vets is another team that should, at the very, very, very least, be in the Final Four, but are also on my short list of favorites to win it. I think Grizzleds and Undisputed Era are in the same bracket. So if that's probably going to be your Final Four match there, I believe, will be Grizzled and UE. If the Veterans, if UE puts them over, then they're my pick to win, and it could be Grizzled Young Veterans and MSK as well in the finals. That would be fun. Chance to get one of these two teams over. I'm really not going to be disappointed with whatever final we get. When I looked at the brackets, like I said, they're not fresh in my mind, but I have looked at them, and there's a couple things I remember about them. Whoever comes together in that Final Four and in the finals is going to be good stuff. So this is the first year and the last two I think I've really been interested in the Dusty Classic. We got a big fight pit match coming up next week that I'm really interested in between Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher. They had a little sit-down thing here hyping this match next week, but I'm ready for it. And I've even said I've pitched the idea of these two guys teaming up when this whole thing ends. I think they'd make a very, very, very dominant, scary, maybe even unbeatable tag team in the tag team division there. And it would give them both something to do, something significant to do. And given Tommaso's physical condition and stuff like that, it could extend his career by doing a little bit less work, being involved in a tag team situation for maybe a year or so if he teams with Thatcher before the eventual split again. But I'd be all for these guys teaming up whenever this shit runs its course, because I like them together, fighting or teaming. We had another. This was the big debut, the Dusty Classic. First round match was up next. Jake Atlas, and Isaiah Swerve Scott teaming up to take on MSK. Now, MSK are the Rascalz. MSK have been in Impact before. They were Impact Tag Team Champions. They had a nice send-off in Impact. And apparently they are also, correct me if I'm wrong, they are currently the PWG Tag Team Champions as well, right now as we speak. And they do have, I've never really seen them before, but they do have a following. People who follow independent wrestling and watch a lot of Impact, they know who these guys are. So WWE bringing them in and changing their name isn't that surprising, but they just brought them in as MSK, no pre-match hype, nothing like that. They were just basically like a mystery team brought in. So if you're going to bring them in that way and make them a mystery team, so when fans see them, they're like, oh, it's them. Why change their name? You know what I mean? Like, why change their name to something completely different? Both of their individual names have been changed as well. So I just think if WWE is going to bring them in as mystery opponents, then you should probably leave them who they are, because people who are going to know who they are know them from that. But of course, WWE's got to change everything around. They're MSK now. Nice little line on commentary about something about these rascals are flying around or whatever. So they at least did mention and give a little bit of a nod to their former name there. And we'll see. They come highly touted. Everybody says good things about them. And it's going to add another really good team to WWE's improving tag team division in NXT. You know, like I said, those Dusty brackets are pretty damn good looking. So we got some good teams there. And welcome to the brand, MSK. I mean, we all knew they were there. They had signed. That was being known. That's why they left Impact and everything. So we knew they were coming in at some point. And the Dusty Classic, having a mystery team there, everybody was kind of predicting this, but I wasn't expecting the full-blown name change and all that. But anyway, welcome to NXT, MSK. The Xia Li stuff is a little bit intriguing to me. I like this. She won a big squash against like a no-name girl. They didn't even have time to tell us what this poor girl's name is. As soon as the bell rings, Xia catches her with a quick right hand. She goes down like a ton of bricks, picks her right up, spin kick for the win. Match couldn't have been any more than 15 to 18 seconds long. It was literally that fast. The mystery woman up on the stage there on the throne instructs Xia Li to continue the assault on this poor girl. So she does that. So they're continuing to not rush this situation. We've seen everything that Xia Li and Boa have gone through and their transformation. And I'm glad they're doing this with Xia Li, because I've always liked her, you know, so this whole new storyline for her, and as much as there is detailed as they're making it, makes me think WWE has got they've got some confidence in her, and they see big things for Xia Li and maybe potential. She's got a great look. She's good in the ring. Everything about her is great. And we'll see where this winds up leading, and what exactly happened in those torture segments that she was going through, and that's made her so impervious to pain now, and being able to do, you know, maybe being like almost like a female version of Killer Cross or Karrion Kross in a way you could look at it. So I'm liking it. Good for her. And she'll be making her presence known in the title division, I think, at some point once she gets built up and we get a little bit of understanding and backstory as to what exactly is going on with her and these mystery people. And finally, the main event of Wednesday night's NXT was another first-round match in the Dusty Classic. Undisputed Era taking on Breezango. Lorcan, Birch, and Dunn come back out to try to interfere. They attack Kyle O'Reilly on the outside of the ring, but Balor comes out to make the save, returning the favor from earlier on in the night during the promo. And in the end, Cole winds up super kicking Tyler Breeze, who's coming off the top rope. Super kicking him right in the face, knocking his head off, pinning him for the win. No big surprise there. I wasn't expecting Breezango to advance past Undisputed Era. I think they kind of need to be there at the end. And Cole and Roddy, right? Strong. Cole and Strong. So that's a pretty damn good team. And they, at the very least, have to make it to the Final Four. But I think finals is also very lucky for them. So this is all good. Like I said, the tag team wrestling was very good on the show. We saw MSK debut. We got more Xia Li stuff and shit like that. But again, not a crazy show. I could have completely missed this show this week and probably not missed a whole lot. So anyway, we'll see what happens next week on NXT and how they lead into the very next TakeOver show. So that's it for my notes. My notes are done. Let me see if there's any other good stuff to talk about in the chat, and then I will let you guys get out of here because I know that there's another pay-per-view on, and that could be affecting my audience, which it looks like it is. Also, if you are here and you haven't hit that thumbs up button, do that for me. I would very much appreciate it. Ew, is that their name for real? Mystery Street Crew? I don't like that. Beetle 911 already opening us an Excel sheet to figure out how much WrestleMania will cost me next year. So I'm assuming you're going to Dallas. Dallas is not a hard trip for me to make, just depending on where we are in the world in terms of COVID. If I can go to WrestleMania in Dallas, I will. If it's possible, I know my girlfriend would be very much into it. We'll go. Otherwise, definitely, obviously, I'll be there in LA in 2023, but maybe next year Dallas is possible. Back to Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas. Let's go back. Take care, Neil. Appreciate you being here. It's nearly 2 a.m. where you are. Go get some sleep, man. Peace to you, too. Thanks for being here. Yes, Gregory Ulysses, we saw the WrestleMania report. We watched it live here. I got to credit Ryan, the guy in the chat that said, oh my God, you got to go to WWE's YouTube channel right now and check out this WrestleMania announcement. So we did. I watched as much of it as I could. I saw that it was very much done in the spirit of Southpaw Wrestling with a lot of disguises. And it's just like I said earlier, it's a very interesting way for WWE to make this announcement, to make it comedic and not, be all about their pomp and circumstance and kissing their own ass and talking about how great they are and shit like that. This was funnier. So I'm going to go back and watch it in its entirety because, like I said, I only watched a few seconds of it. I saw the actual announcement for April 11th, Raymond James Stadium, and then they announced the next two WrestleManias as well. So that's huge news, man. Very, very, very big news. WWE is just trying to get things locked up for the future so they can concentrate on the present, I suppose, with all of the day-to-day uncertainty that we're still currently living with right now with the pandemic, not just here in the States, but literally all over the world. We're all in the same boat. That's the one thing about this pandemic is it really kind of brings us together because every country has their own politics and their own shit and their own issues and stuff, but we're all dealing with this. So, I want to get back to normal. I want to go out to eat again. I want to fly on a plane again. Yeah, I know. Okay, Mystery, you were just making that up. I hope so. Mystery Street Crew. That's so funny. Okay, thank you again for this as well, Ryan. Per WWE's press release, they will release info on ticket availability and safety protocol for WrestleMania 37. So, all right. Well, I am not going to Tampa, obviously, for that. But next year, man, Dallas and LA. Maybe I can make up for not going to WrestleMania by going to 2 in a row. It's possible. I know, Madeline. All the concert goers in the world, I feel for you. I've never been a big concert goer, but a lot of my friends are. My girlfriend is, and people who are not been able to go to these things and enjoy that. It's going to be nice when things get back to normal, man. I'm ready. I am so ready. But anyway, I'm also ready to get out of here because I got to get some things done for tonight. I want to remind you guys again, come hang out with me tomorrow. It's going to be fun. We're going to be going up at 8 o'clock Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern time. It would be the same time as you would watch me on Monday nights after Raw, and we're going to watch the Royal Rumble match from 2005, the big Cena-Batista botch, Vince McMahon blowing his legs out, and that whole hilarious scenario. We're going to hang out tomorrow night and do that together. So I hope you guys can join me. Have a good rest of your night. If you're going to go watch Hard to Kill or keep an eye on that, enjoy, and feel free to shoot me some messages on Twitter if you want to talk more about WrestleMania plans, and all of the announcements that were made today during this podcast from WWE. You want to chat more about that, shoot me a follow at Good Mike Work over on Twitter, and I'll be happy to do that for you and with you this weekend. And I'm sure tomorrow night when we're up here streaming and shooting the shit during the Royal Rumble 2005 match, we'll probably talk a little bit more about this as well. So you guys take care. Have a great rest of your night.